welcome to Royals at the Ranch for Thursday, December 30th, 2021. I'm Lori with Behavior Education at Spirit Keeper Equine Sanctuary. This is Sarek, also with Behavior Education at Spirit Keeper Equine Sanctuary. He is one of our Royals at the Ranch. This week's episode was originally going to be Fulcrum's recent story. And by recent story, I mean he's had some big changes in his life in respect to his behavior. But then when I was editing that episode for tonight, I had 6 of our baby Royals wanting to eat and very motivated to train. So I, of course, fed them and did training exercises with them, and that includes with Sarek here. And it went really, really well. And I'm excited to show you that too. So that was an episode in and of itself. I couldn't do both in the same episode or it would be about 30 minutes long. So I had to divide them into 2 episodes. So we have a Hungry Royals at the Ranch episode and a Fulcrum episode. So I thought this week, because it's a holiday weekend, New Year's is coming and everybody's going to be celebrating, and most of the time that means celebrating by eating. I thought we would do Hungry Royals at the Ranch this week. So you're going to get to see 6 of our baby Royals, 5 of them eating, and 1 of them just wishing that I would feed her, because Pavlova ate only 4 days ago, and even though I'm quite sure she would have eaten again tonight, I think that that is too soon even for a growing baby. So you are going to get to see the other 5 Hungry Royals training and eating. And I'm really excited to show you these guys because these are a group that I got all under 11 weeks old. So very young, and I started target training them from their very first feeding here. So I'm excited to show you these guys.
Pavlova thinks she's hungry, but I don't think that she needs to eat this evening. She just ate 4 days ago. She arrived here when she was 9 weeks old, and she's about 4.5 months old now. And even though she's young, I think 4 days is a bit too soon for her to eat again. This is Kenobi, who you haven't seen much of. He arrived when he was 8 weeks old, and he is about 4 months old now. He's a good example of watching body language if you're doing behavior-based feeding to know when your snake is likely to eat. He is making substantial effort to hunt. He is in an ambush position. He is starting to come out of his enclosure, and he is very intently watching any motion outside of his enclosure. He's watching what I'm doing. He now smells the rodents thawing, and he's actually starting to pursue that scent. All of this body language and behavior is telling me that he's hungry enough to make some substantial effort in order to try and increase his opportunities to find food. And this is also the first time that he has come out of his enclosure on his own. He's fairly active in his enclosure, and I've taken him out a couple of times for practice, but this is the first time that he's come out on his own and engaged in any activity voluntarily outside of his enclosure. And that's another clue that I know that he is actually hungry. So he's waiting there. He sees me now getting the target and getting the food ready to come over and work with him. And so I come around this side of the counter and show him the target. He orients to it right away and actually starts to move towards it. And I changed my mind about feeding him right there because I didn't want my notepad to get all wet. So I changed the orientation of the target. I changed its direction, and that threw him off just a little bit, but it wasn't too bad. He re-engaged with it, and it doesn't take him more than just a few seconds to go ahead and snatch his meal. So I was really proud of him. He had a lot of firsts tonight. Romana is somewhere in those leaves. I wasn't even sure where her head was at first, which was why I hesitated to present the target until I knew exactly where she was. She was about 11 weeks old when she got here and is 5 months old now. She's become quite adept at coming out of her enclosure often and on her own, at target training and at foraging exercises. Now, last time she ate, she did a foraging exercise. So she found the food on one of these target discs and snatched it before I could even get that on camera. So this time she's a little bit overzealous and goes for the target before I even have the food there. But it didn't really faze her, and as soon as I presented the food, she snatched it. This is Pfethyr, and Pfethyr arrived here when she was 7 weeks old and is about 4 months old now. She just moved into this 4x2x2 black box cages enclosure 2 days ago after having spent a few different exercise sessions in it, and then she moved into it permanently. The next snake that you're going to see, Sarek, is going to move into an enclosure just like that. Now, he's a good example of someone who is very habituated to the activity involved in getting a snake out of a top opening enclosure. And this is just a super temporary enclosure that I have him in. But you can see that he was not fazed at all by the trouble I was having getting the lids off of the enclosure, and that the lid was barely off and he started coming out. Now, if you've been watching the videos for a while, you know that Sarek comes out a lot. Sarek is very outgoing, and he has no issues coming out of whatever enclosure I happen to have him in, and using activity stations and being handled and target training. And he arrived when he was just 3 weeks old, and he's about 6 months old now. So he's a super experienced learner already. And you can see that he oriented to that target immediately and then looked for the reinforcement. This is Pfethyr's second session. Now, she and Sarek both get 2 sessions tonight because I ran out of appropriately sized food items for them. And so they each got 2 hopper mice instead of the rat fuzzy or small rat pup that would have been appropriate for them. Now we're going to take a look at Sarek's second session. And I know I said that they both got 2 sessions and 2 food items, but unfortunately Sarek's second food item was only half a hopper mouse. When I thawed out the food, for some reason, there was a hopper mouse in the bag that was cut in half or in 2 pieces. So this is the tail end of a hopper mouse. And it was hilarious because you could tell he knew it was food. He oriented towards the target and then looked for the reinforcement. But he seemed super confused that there was no head or front half to it. And he tongue flicked at it. He nosed around at it. I accidentally dropped it onto the target and he still stayed engaged with it. And then I decided, well, I better pick it back up with the tongs and help him understand that this is his food, because he just seemed perplexed that there wasn't a head, that I guess it was half a mouse. And so then when I pick it up this time, he obviously gets the idea that it's food and he takes it. And I just thought it was funny. So I left this in for you guys to see. This next snake you're going to see is Pfynix, and she recently, very, very recently arrived from Kinova Reptiles. So she had 1 target training session at Kinova. Summer Grace Mitchell paired her final meal there with a target identical to the one that I used, that I had sent her ahead of time. And then Pfynix has had 3 target trainings. This was her 3rd target training session with me. So this is her 3rd time eating since arriving here. And she caught on really quickly. She oriented towards the target, and then I present the food to her, and it doesn't take her long to snatch it. And I'm just really impressed with her because she was eating live at Kinova. And from her first feed here, which was just a couple of weeks ago, I've only offered her frozen thawed, and I've paired that with this target each time, and she has just picked up this activity very, very well. She's on that holy roller ball because I fed her there last time, and so every night since her last feeding, she's been in ambush position on that holy roller ball, presumably because she remembers that she had a successful hunting experience there the last time. Now, I had really small food items this time because I'm waiting for a rodent shipment and all of my larger items are out. And when that happens, I just feed more than one small food item. So this is her second repetition during the same training session, and I decided to try on this side of the enclosure this time. And you can see that she oriented towards the target right away, and then she's trying to figure out what she is supposed to do. She understands that that's associated with food. She starts to move over in its direction, but she's not coming directly towards it. And I just have to make sure that I time the reinforcement correctly. So I'm just waiting for her to look more directly at the target before I present the reinforcement. And as soon as she made that little head motion, I went ahead and presented the food. Pfynix was just 6 weeks old when she got here, and she's just a little over 8 weeks old now. I think she is doing phenomenally well adapting and adjusting to life here and to the target training. I'm very, very pleased with her.
Everybody, thank you so much for watching and for joining me this week for another episode of Royals at the Ranch. If you have any questions about snake training and behavior, please don't hesitate to contact me. You can email me at behavioreducationllc@gmail.com or reach me on Facebook or Instagram Messenger. And also you might consider joining our Patreon group, where twice a month I meet with members in live chats, and that's an opportunity for you to ask me training and behavior questions, and we have really great group discussions about snake training and behavior, as well as training and behavior about other animal species too. It also gives you the opportunity to have one-on-one private meetings with me or private coaching sessions and unlimited access to asking me questions via text and phone or email, etc. So check out our Patreon if that is something that you might be interested in. So since tonight's episode was all training and feeding, I didn't think we needed a special segment, but I do hope that you will enjoy a few seconds of Royals in your homes. Thank you so much to everybody that sent in short videos and photos of Royals in your homes. I really appreciate that. I am banking them. In other words, I'm saving them all in a file, and I'm going to use a few at a time every week until we use them up. And then you will either start seeing repeats or people better send me new content. Until next time, everybody, please remember to always be kind and love your animals.